Hello everyone, this is part one of a few video presentations that I'm going to make about the construction of my Freddy Krueger Furnace Diorama. What I'm going to do briefly on this first part is to just give you a rundown of the work so far. Now please appreciate this isn't fully finished. There's some touching up to do. There's some staining and weathering to do, but before it's finished, I'm just going to give you a rundown because of the process so far, because it's really not important that you see the fully finished product just yet, because that will obviously be revealed at the end. Okay, hopefully some of my ideas and techniques will be of help to you. I'm not the best model maker in the world, but it may inspire some of you to come up with some ideas or use some of my techniques or improve on my techniques, whatever. Right, so I'll start quickly with the baseboard. This is a hardwood placemat that I bought in a charity shop in a pack. I think there were 5 of them. They're quite useful as baseboards. I appreciate charity shops may well be shut at the moment, but you may have some of these languishing in the back of your cupboards that you haven't used, or you may find an alternative. That's really not important. What you use for a baseboard, you can pick and choose yourself. That was covered with this sheet. It's a model railway accessory. It's embossed plastic card, comes in about A4 size, cut to shape. I then painted it all dark brown, followed by lots of weathering using washes of lighter colours, light browns, blacks, whites, just to give it this kind of weathered and used and dirty look. I've also oversprayed a few little sprays of black around the place. This will be mainly for the fitting of the furnace. That will all become clear a bit later why I've done that. The walls of the diorama are plasterboard. I've used plasterboard. I've used the thinner stuff. Now, building regulations now, most suppliers want to sell you thicker stuff. I think it's about 12mm. This is 8 or 9mm plasterboard, but obviously I didn't need great thick stuff for this. I didn't need it to be that heavy or that thick, but it's quite literally plasterboard, nothing more exotic than that. And cut the shape and fixed together, and I used dowels in corners and along the bottom, through the board and into this, just to give it a bit more, make it a bit more sturdy, give it a bit of rigidity. But then basically it was just stuck in place once those dowels were there to strengthen it. Okay, the top half that you see is consists of a fantastic product that I bought probably at least 20 years ago, maybe longer. It's originally, I think, designed for use with dolls' houses, and this stuff is just fantastic. It's embossed and shaped and even pre-weathered to a degree, and it comes in sheets, and I really wish I could get hold of some more of this. I bought it from a shop in Croydon in southern England, called Turtles. I don't even know if that shop exists anymore, if this product can be bought there or elsewhere. I wish I could have some more of this because it really is good stuff, but I had a limited supply left of this because I'd used some of it to make Seven's Productions final figure of Captain Scarlet, and I used most of this to make a backdrop for him, and it looked very effective, but that meant I had a limited amount of this left. Anyway, so again, cut to shape and stuck on the boards, but because of the limited amount of that I had to break it up. So I've made what is effectively, I suppose, a dado rail there. It's just balsa wood that's been painted and weathered. As I said right at the beginning, this is, it's an ongoing project. It still needs some more weathering and a bit of wear and tear into it for the walls and the dado rail and etc. But you get the idea. And it was to break up, the dado rail was there simply to break up the two separate halves. The bottom half I quite literally rendered, plastered, whatever you want to call it. I used decorator's filler, dry filler that you mix with water, and then trail it on the way that a plasterer would. It's not perfect, it's not beautiful, but I really didn't want it to. It's not supposed to be a glamorous residence. It's supposed to be the furnace room of Freddy Krueger. So once that was applied and dried, I then washed it with a dark blue and then oversprayed it with a lighter blue, and the light and dark effect I think looks quite effective, and I was quite happy with that. I've sprayed some additional kind of black overspray, if you like, matte black oversprays to weather it, particularly in this area on the floor and on the walls, because this is where the furnace is going to stand, and all of that will become clear to you a little bit later. The aperture that you see there is also relevant to the furnace. It all will become clear in the next part, but in a nutshell, this is to house the opening a hatch that I've put in the back of the furnace so that I could fit a lighting effect into there, a flickering flame into the back of the furnace. But as I say, that will all become clear a little bit later in the next part. The edges of the board I've used the exact same filler, which once it was dried, obviously I painted it. The edges are not perfect by any means, and that really isn't a problem as far as I'm concerned. It is what you'd call a deliberate mistake. I could have sanded them more, I could have filled them a little bit more, but frankly the roughness doesn't bother me. They're obviously suggestive of walls that move further, but with the limitations of the model, the walls can only be a certain length, so I can only go so far with them. So there you go. Just to finish the edges of the plasterboard, and nothing very elaborate, nothing very beautiful, but it achieved what I wanted it to. Going on to the reverse now. Obviously you can imagine that at the back here all I had was bare sort of grey plasterboard. So all I've done with this is I've just used textured lining paper, just ordinary lining paper, nothing very expensive at all, that I've lined it just to give it a neater finish. I may or may not paint this. I'm not that worried about it, to be honest. Nobody's going to be looking at the back of it. It was just to kind of neaten it up for aesthetic reasons and nothing else. The aperture that you see there, the reason for that being there will become a little clearer in the next part. Added a pipe in the corner here. Again, that will become clearer a little bit later, but it's just to kind of furnish it a little bit and give it a little bit of atmosphere. And again, weathering needed on that, and on that aperture, and on the walls, the brickwork and the plasterwork. But that's about it for this part. I hope that some of my ideas and techniques are of use to you, even if I'm not demonstrating the best model making skills in the world, but hopefully it will inspire you for some of the materials you can use, and some of the ways that they can be utilised, so that you can pass this time while you're all locked down, trying to stay safe. Okay, well, that's it for now, and I'll speak to you in the next part. And what I'll be doing there is discussing a little bit more about the furnace, and how that was made, how it will ultimately be fitted, and the process I went through for the making and fitting of the furnace. Okay, so take care, and I'll speak to you all soon.